How did Sukuna kill Gojo? In the entire chapter, we didn't get to see how Sukuna killed Gojo. We were only shown at the end of the chapter that Sukuna had sliced his body into two parts. His upper body was lying on the ground, and his lower body was standing upright. However, it wasn't shown how Sukuna used a technique to split Gojo into two parts in a single strike. So let me explain all these things, which Sukuna clarifies quite well, although some people might not have understood. But no worries, your brother is here. He'll explain everything. Some people think that Mahoraga killed Gojo, which is not correct. It was indeed Sukuna. Sukuna explains that whenever an attack is made on Mahoraga, he starts adapting to that attack. Now, Mahoraga's adaptation speed increases as much as you attack him. In other words, if I'm fighting Mahoraga and hitting him a lot, his adaptation speed will increase accordingly. So initially, when Mahoraga adapted to Gojo's infinity, he essentially altered his curse energy to neutralize the infinity. However, here comes a very significant twist about which none of us had any idea. So basically, Mahoraga never stops adapting. I mean, even though it has adapted to infinity, its adaptation continues to evolve so that it can understand things even better. Essentially, over time, its method of adaptation becomes more refined. You can say that even beyond 100%, it keeps progressing 200%, 300%, and so on. So what Sukuna needed here was a blueprint that could help him counter infinity, even beyond infinity. Now, the first adaptation of Mahoraga, where it transformed its curse energy, well, copying that was impossible for Sukuna, because if you look closely, how can a person change their cursed energy? They can increase or decrease it, but they cannot change its nature. These properties are unique to Mahoraga because it's an entity, a shikigami. But even after that, as Mahoraga kept adapting, it kept changing its adaptation. At some point, Sukuna finally understood Mahoraga's adaptation properly, which he could copy. This mostly happened when Mahoraga cut Gojo's hand, and at that moment, Sukuna realized that Mahoraga wasn't actually attacking Gojo or his infinity. Instead, it had adapted to space, meaning the world, which it could cut. Now, consider that there is a world, and if Mahoraga can adapt to that world, then the people in that world would also be affected, right? Gojo would also be affected. Basically, what's the point of infinity if you've created a technique that can cut that world itself? Mahoraga brought this adaptation by enhancing its adaptation, and Sukuna understood this blueprint. He incorporated this into his attacks. Then Sukuna included it in his slashing, and Sukuna's attack couldn't be stopped by Gojo's infinity because this attack wasn't on Gojo or his infinity, but on the world itself. If the world gets cut, Gojo gets cut too. So in essence, Gojo's infinity didn't matter here. Sukuna cut Gojo in half with his attacks. This was an impossible skill that Sukuna somehow made possible. In other words, consider when Gojo used his purple attack, Mahoraga was destroyed by that attack, but it had already completed its second adaptation by then, and Sukuna got the blueprint for it. Using this blueprint, Sukuna defeated Gojo, meaning Satoru Gojo is no more. He is dead. Rest in peace, Goat. In fact, Sukuna also says, "Good job, Satoru Gojo. I will never forget you." Now, let's talk a bit about Sukuna. And the first thing I want to say is that now no one will call Sukuna fraud Sukuna anymore. Because you see, Sukuna's cleave and dismantle are just a show. His real strength lies in learning any curse technique he sees, taking its blueprint and then implementing it into his attacks. Remember how in the manga he immediately learned Jogo's fire arrow attack. Then he used the blood manipulation attack in the same way to manipulate the water of Max Elephant. During the Heian era, he learned just by seeing Kenjaku once how he can create his 20 cursed fingers so that he could become kind of immortal. Now he has learned Mahoraga's second adaptation. All of this points to the fact that Sukuna knows Jujutsu as much as no one else does. This guy has mixed and drunk so much Jujutsu that no one comes close to his knowledge. Sukuna holds the core knowledge of Jujutsu, understands it, and can implement it. That's why he's called the King of Curses, because no one becomes the King of Curses through dismantle and cleave. One becomes a king when they can learn and implement whatever they desire. Gojo himself said in his afterlife that even if Sukuna didn't have Megumi's curse technique, he might not have been able to defeat Sukuna. This is the difference between strength and experience. Gojo has 6 eyes and infinity, which are incredibly an OP, but Sukuna has 1,000 years of experience, which makes him even better. So, what's your opinion on this? Tell me in the comment section. And thanks for watching this video. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing my channel for more awesome videos.